Perfect.
So this is one of those things that since it's our first meetup, y'all are like the guinea pigs for seeing what does and doesn't work and how to get this like smooth and streamlined. But I do want this to just be like sort of casual. We have an agenda to kind of go through to kind of keep it going. And we have our special guest, Alma, who's an amazing educator who won our Make Water Challenge this season. So excited to have her on. I think with that, it's been like 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and start. So today the meeting's going to be recorded. So if anybody has a problem with that, you can turn the screen off or your camera off or something like that, because I think we're going to post it on YouTube just so that people that didn't make it could have a chance to check it out. Yeah, so this is the beginning of something we're going to do every month. We want it to be just a place to have to brainstorm, to connect with other people who have participated in the Make Water program, other nonprofits that have participated. Maybe y'all can connect with each other. It doesn't all always have to revolve around Make Water, but it can revolve around STEM or water and energy and things like that. So yeah, we wanted to sort of emphasize the importance of collaboration. And one of the things growing this nonprofit and doing all these workshops that I've looked back on these workshops, I've gone, man, I need to reconnect or have these people connect with other people. So that's how this was born. So I think we're going to actually start with an icebreaker where some of y'all can introduce yourselves. Or how do you want to start? Do you want to start it, Ume? Is that through is this through the Menti slide?
Yeah, sure. So we have an interactive activity. It's an icebreaker activity. We thought it'll be fun to start with. So I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. Okay, so just a second. So you can go to mentimeter.com. I'm just gonna put that in the chat. And also I'm gonna put the link we have. You can click on this link. I just sent in the chat there. And you can use this code to get in, and we'll be ranking our favorite water-related movies together. Let me know if you have any problems reaching the link.
This is neat. Okay. I do that one. Oh, in order. Okay. So I am a big movie person, so I love this actually. Okay, submit. Oh, Finding Nemo's up there.
I put my response in really fast, so the first bit of results were skewed. Those were all mine, I think. In Finding Nemo.
With the little kiddo, like Finding Nemo has been on the TV a couple times, so that was my first. Maybe not as a movie buff, my first choice, but just as where I am in my life these days. Yeah, and Titanic, very applicable to the times these days with the news. Unfortunately. Okay, so how much time do we want to give that? Oh, I see, Adam. I'm being a bad host. I need to keep on top of people wanting to come into the group. Okay, Adam, I hope you are there. He's connecting. Okay. All right, so I guess that concludes our first one, our first Mentimeter. That was actually quick. I thought it was going to require a lot more work signing in and stuff, but that worked pretty good.
Yeah, and we'll have more interactive questions throughout the session. So I think we can move on from the movies.
Cool. I would also like to take this time to have everybody. Adam, thank you for joining. have everybody just kind of go around and share who they are. I will start. My name is Ryan Beltran. I founded makewater.org. I'm the executive director, and I just am passionate about, getting students interested in citizen science through hands-on tinkering and learning through this nonprofit. So since everybody's probably got different orders, I'm going to go ahead and say who's next. I'll say Ume. You go ahead, just because that's
Hi,
the order I have it.
everyone. Yeah, it's Mai from Sumi Communications. We help support Makewater with their communication work. So all the posts and content you see on social media, we collaborate with this amazing team and try to get the word out to highlight Makewater's great work. And it's nice to see you all today. Thank you for coming.
Sume, and next up is Claudia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Claudia. I am the project coordinator for Makewater, and I've been with the team for just over a year now, and it's been awesome. I absolutely love it. I love working with Ryan. I love working with Ume now that she's a part of our team. And yeah, it's just been a great adventure, and I'm so glad to see you all here with us today to kind of reflect on what's going on, talk about next steps, hear from you all with your experiences and your unique experience with STEM education, and talk to us about Makewater. So happy to have you all.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And now Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Counts. I do all the financing and accounting functions for Makewater. Been with the organization for a couple of years now, and I am based in very, very hot San Antonio.
Yes, that is very true. Next up, Deborah.
Trying to unmute. Hi, I'm Deborah. I've been with Ryan for about 3 years, I think now, and was a teacher and that's how we got started, or my students got started with that, and have just stayed ever since. So I'm passionate about water issues, being in San Antonio myself. Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah. Deborah's been amazing. She's been so helpful. I've reached out for just like feedback from her from an educator perspective, and she's been so great. So you're not saying enough about how much you've really helped, and I will say that. So thank you, Deborah, for all you've done so far, and still helping out and coming in and just how passionate you are about the things that we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
I will, next up is Catherine, another educator who I worked with around the same time.
I'm Catherine, or you can call me Kathy. I teach at Edison High School, and I got to know with Ryan through giving my kids the opportunity to work through SAWS. It was called the Impact Team at the time, and now it's the Academy of Water Influencers. And I've had a lot of my kids work with Ryan specifically as their mentor. And it's been really exciting to see the spark he's shown or that's developed in these kids to move forward with environmental work through Ryan's work.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. I don't know why sometimes I want to say like Miss King, just like another student too, just because all the times I've come into the class. I will have Laura go next if you would like to, Laura. You don't have to, though. You're in the middle of something.
No, I'm fine. I'm doing this on the phone, so I'm having to figure out some logistics that I haven't had to do before.
No worries. Thank you for coming.
So I work for Region 3 Education Service Center, and you reached out to Michelle Sudbury, who is our state STEM person, and said, hey guys, jump on the bandwagon, check this out. So I sent it in and got my stuff. I have a STEM group that are going through the state teacher training for STEM, and we're doing the water filtration challenge tomorrow. Okay. And so we're going to take the kits that you sent me and I'm going to hand those out and have them do that as a second activity to the state training and to advertise about what you have going. So really, I'm just more of a liaison of sharing information and contacts. So you will have 20 teachers that may be contacting you very soon.
Well, thank you
to
for that,
get
Laura.
involved
Yeah,
on the student level.
it is nice to virtually meet you, and it was great to be able to send these sponsored kits out to all the different regions. And if you have any questions or anything like that, you can ask them here, reach out to us later. We are happy to help y'all out with that. So thank you for coming, and we will go to Adam next.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
Adam
coming.
Potter. I work in water supply and water conservation, so I'm not an educator. I worked at SAWS for 10 years helping develop supplies for the city of San Antonio. But I've known Ryan for about 15 years now. And we were actually neighbors, next door neighbors, 20 years ago. We just didn't know each other. So yeah, I live in Austin and just have been really supportive of what Ryan's doing from day one. So
thank you, Adam. And I actually picked you to go before Cole if you wanted to introduce Cole before Cole goes up, because you had wanted to connect Cole with us.
yeah, I'll just say how I met Cole was he was at San Antonio River Authority, and we've kind of stayed in contact, and I'll let Cole, you cover all the things that you bring to this group. But I think that you said you've done some nonprofit law that I think if Ryan ever needed some guidance in that area. But I'll let you give your full introduction.
Thank you, Adam. Hi, Cole. Thanks for coming, Cole.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm so as Adam mentioned, I work at the San Antonio River Authority for a number of years. I lived in San Antonio for about a decade. I'm originally from Castroville, which is just west of San Antonio. But I have a background in water, both personally, and my family has just been doing water stuff for a long time, and so during my time at the River Authority, I was in law school. I graduated law school and I moved up to Austin to work as a water attorney here in our state's capital, and I've been doing that for about 4 years now. And so, as Adam mentioned, I do a lot of my practice focuses primarily on water. That involves a lot of state agency work, I have a lot of state like district clients, municipalities, counties, and utilities. And at the forefront of all of that is water conservation and STEM. And so through that's I think where Adam and I kind of connected on this. And to the extent that I can be of any use in the nonprofit realm, I do have a little bit of legal experience in that realm as well. Tangentially to that, I currently chair the University of Texas's Environmental Science Institute Advisory Council, and they're heavily focused on STEM, heavily focused on community engagement. There's some pretty neat projects that are about to kick off, and they have some ongoing things that are pretty neat. If you are local to Austin, or if you ever have an opportunity to get up to Austin, I'd be happy to connect you with those types of things. So I'm just here to learn and absorb information and be to the extent that I can be of assistance, I'm happy to.
Well, Cole, thank you very much. I definitely think that I will reach back out to you with with some potential like future projects that we're doing that might cross over into that realm. So thank you very much for coming. And again, you have any questions during this, feel free to anybody really. And so with that, I have Alma next, who I strategically put last also because she's going to sort of be our headliner for today, our first guest. And she had also prepared a little presentation, I believe. So I'll just let it start from there, I guess. A great segue into the next section. Thank you, Alma, for participating and joining today.
Right. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it's there at the, I see it. Let's see. Oh, I have to grant access. Sorry.
That's all right. Always these little things with these virtual calls.
Okay, just. Can you guys see my screen or no?
No, not yet.
Okay. Let me try to click that again. Okay, I think now it's going to let me.
There we go. Something's happening.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there we go.
Yeah.
So as Ryan mentioned, so I'm Alma Torrez or Alma Torrez, however you want to say it. But I am a K-5 STEM teacher. I took over our program. It was established 6 years ago, and I taught it for 2. I'm starting my 3rd year this coming school year, and this will be my 7th year as a teacher. So K-5 STEM, I see over 400 students in a week. And I'm kind of a unicorn in my district because I am the only STEM lab at an elementary level in my district. So I am on my own island. So I'm still figuring things out as I go. I am also our school Facebook photographer. I'm no professional, but I've been having fun just taking pictures of any events, and I manage our school social media. And then also, I am assistant to the master gardener. We have a volunteer master gardener, and I kind of help with scheduling and managing chaos. So those are kind of the 3 roles that I have at my school. And on the next slide, I was going to show kind of like my Make Water challenge. I was going to show a little bit of it, you know, the challenge that I had entered to win the 3D printer. So it will play a little bit of that, and then I'll go ahead and kind of pause and explain that slide.
This is my water story. Our school garden is starting up again, and water helps it grow. We just planted onions, and they needed a little extra water. Watering the garden gives such.
Okay, so I was pausing it there because I'm actually watering the onions, as I mentioned in the video, which, as you can see, they're very, very small right there. But I'm also teaching summer school, and last week we went ahead and we pulled all of these onions in that middle picture that you see right there. It was probably about 50 pounds, maybe more. Our master gardener is very excited to enter some of them in our county fair competition. Our garden is also very, very unique to our district. We are only one of 2 in our district, and really it grows because of our master gardener. She's a retired. She's in her 70s. She's the sweetest lady, and she has so much knowledge to share with the kids. And I chose to enter this particular video because water is essential for our garden to grow. Sometimes we need to water extra things that we plant, or we need to make sure our drip system is working or it's turned on. So I thought that it would be a great entry for the Make Water Challenge. Does anyone have any questions or comments they kind of want to share so far? Okay, you can
I'll just say that I really like the video that you made about this. Was so sweet and nice. And everybody, if y'all are on TikTok or Instagram, she has a great she posts a lot of great content on there, and that's one of the reasons how we found her. So yeah, just wanted to say, yeah, the video you made was really great.
Thank you. So I'm just trying to see, this isn't a. So why is water science important to STEM? So my goal, again, I'm in just year 3 starting here, but my goal with the STEM program is to really expose my students to STEM careers. So I'm all about showing them different careers and Water science is a big part of that. There's lots of careers that can relate to that. And it also brings that real world connection to them. The one of the pictures here on the left is my 5th grade students. We use the Make Water kits. They loved using them. They love to see them. We talked about real world connections, and we talked about, would you like to take a shower in black water? And they were not for that. And it was interesting to see them work and hear their conversations. Another thing is, water science can also provide those enrichments and give them that hands-on activities. This middle picture here is something I did my first year, where we had an oil spill. I used vegetable oil and cocoa powder and dipped white feathers in them. And then the students' job was to make them look new again, which they realized was a little challenging, and they had to be very, very gentle. But it's something that they still remember. Anytime I pull out feathers for anything, they're like, oh, were we cleaning them again? So it's really something that has stuck with them. And then this last photo here on the right, we use Makey Makeys. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of like something you can attach to your computer, but it looks like a little Nintendo controller. But basically, you can make all sorts of things with it. And here they connected a piece of paper, and they connected it to the Makey Makey. Each student is controlling a piano key, and with watercolor paint, they are painting and making music. So they also, I forgot to add, they also attached it to a paintbrush. So it's a paintbrush, and then this cable here is kind of attached to the Makey Makey. And every time their paintbrush touched the paper, they made music. But they did also have to catch on that they needed water, and they needed to make sure that that paint was full of watercolor so that they can actually hear the music play. So something that they also love. They were so sad when they had to clean up after this activity. It goes fast in 45 minutes. Any questions, comments? Okay. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So STEM education, resources, and teaching methods and tips. So resources, I feel like it's very limited. STEM is something very new, especially at the elementary level. There are things out there, you can go to TPT and find things, but I do think it's important to do your research. I've bought a couple things that just aren't the quality that I'm looking for. And so my favorites, Vivify STEM and Carly and Adam, are really what I used my first year. The Vivify STEM has like a podcast episode where they talk about the 3 stages of STEM. And literally, I found out in end of June that I was moving to a STEM position. And so I was listening to the podcasts, I was finding resources, whatever I could. Facebook groups. I've had like quite a few teachers on TikTok reach out to me telling me, hey, I'm new to STEM. Like, what are your suggestions? And I always suggest Vivify STEM and Carly and Adam. And then also my district. So my region 16, they really helped me get going. I was able to check out Ozobots from them. I did do the STEM state training that I believe Laura was talking about, where we made the name tag, we did the water filtration, and I really connected with the presenter from the Region 16. And she really helped me my first year on getting supplies and like how to get started. And at conferences, I liked going to the STEMCon Beyond. I learned a lot there. Carly and Adam also have conferences. Those are also great resources to learn. And I just attended the STEMCon Beyond conferences, and, I have lots of ideas to start using my incoming year. And then lastly, the teaching methods. So I like to do Secret Engineer, with my students. So if you're familiar with Secret Student, it's exactly that, but we just call it Secret Engineer. Basically, I'm looking for one student a day, and I don't tell them who it is until they leave because it's a secret. And if that student had a great day, then I reveal who they are. And if not, then I say, oh, we'll try again next time. And I do kind of keep a checklist of all my rosters, which was kind of tricky to keep track of with so many sections. But I kind of figured out a system, so I kind of cross off as I go, so I'm not picking the same kid over and over. The kids have kind of caught on to, but sometimes I surprise them and pick one who's been picked. So I keep them on their toes. Um, I would say, like, any tips, team building is a must. Assign jobs, especially for those littles who don't know how to work as a team. We have different jobs: head architect, a materials manager, anything like that. That's really beneficial for them to work as a team, and it's important for them to collaborate because in STEM we do a lot of collaboration. And definitely establish your rules and procedures. I learned that my first year. I just jumped right into STEM, and I had to backtrack a little bit because I forgot to bring those things that I've learned as a classroom teacher and bring that into the STEM position. So I do try to pull a lot from that too. I remind myself, wait, you were a classroom teacher before this, bring that into STEM too. So I'm figuring out how to kind of mix both those worlds there because it is different, but you can still incorporate a lot of the classroom teacher knowledge. So if you're a classroom teacher going into STEM, it's a better transition for you. And then lastly, I do STEM stories, which basically I read a book, and I do that with my kinder and first graders. And then it kind of builds background, it sets the stage, and then I give them some sort of challenge. And if we're not doing stories, then we do stations. And then lastly, my last slide, my aha moments. So my aha moment is when I see a student I know struggling academically or has something going on at home succeed at a STEM challenge. I see their confidence grow and that I created a safe space for them to take risk. So, and I have lots of pictures here of some of them you've seen. One lesson they still talk about is where we use cornstarch and water and we dried out some 3D dinosaur puzzles, and they were paleontologists and they dug for fossils and then they had to try to put them together. So it's amazing to see them be successful and for us to be able to create these memories. But yeah, that's about all I have there.
Alma, that was great. That was it's inspiring, and it gets me wishing, like, when I was growing up, that some of these activities were available, because I'm a very like hands-on learner, or even story-driven learner. Like I mean, I had ADHD growing up, and like things wouldn't keep my attention, but then they were surprised that I would like sit for like a movie. I was really into like story-driven things, and so things like this, and the makey that you used early was really cool, and I learned about that in maker spaces.
Yeah.
I really, it's really cool to see some of the things that you have found and brought to the classroom. And I actually, Vivify STEM, it's such a small world, I was on their podcast that you mentioned. So I just put the link in there to that. And Alma, put in, like, if you'd like to share your like Instagram or any of that, please do share that with everybody, if you'd like, because you have some great posts and content there. Yeah.
Go ahead. And I'm also on TikTok and Instagram, but TikTok is where you'll find the more content.
Yeah.
Right now it's been a little slow because I'm just trying to make it through summer school.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Alma?
Yeah, I have one. Can you guys hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, I wanted to ask, I struggled as a student in STEM-related fields and classes. Do you feel that students find STEM subjects more challenging? And if you feel that they are maybe holding themselves back, what do you do in that instance? Yeah, I wanted to learn about that.
So I think like my first year, I saw like a lot of them, like they were so afraid to like mess up. They were so afraid to take risks. My fifth grade was very, very heavy in gifted and talented students, and they were the hardest students to convince to just try it, just take a chance. And it really just kept me encouraging them, trying different things. I tried to, differentiate on what kind of lessons I did because I knew that it wasn't going to work for all students. And I tried to find something that, could work for all of them and just to continue to kind of encourage them. My school is really big on sensory stations. So we have like a sensory walk. So if they were getting frustrated, then I'd say, hey, go do a sensory walk. Or we also have a sensory room. So, if it's just a really tough, if they're in tears and they're checked out, then I say, you know what, why don't you go to the sensory room for a little bit and we try again. I encourage them to try again. I don't expect them to be successful on it, and that's what I tell them. And if they're not, it's okay. We keep trying, or we try something else. Like this was just not for you.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question, Alma. Are you able to collaborate with any of the grade level teachers, like put it into their grade level classrooms as well, like whatever you're teaching in the STEM class? So it kind of transfers into other curricula as well?
So the teachers are actually in my classroom during STEM. So sometimes they'll kind of add like, oh, we just talked about this, and they'll add to the lesson. I'm not so much a part of like their curriculum and their planning. I'd like to do more. But I had like my second year, I did try to incorporate a lot more science because I know that science kind of takes a back burner with like all the math and reading curriculum that teachers have to keep up with. Um, but I'd love to work more with teachers, but having them in my classroom does help, and I do kind of approach them when I'm stuck on what to teach next because I also have to build my own curriculum as I go or pull something as I go. So I do try to collaborate as much, but I would like to do more.
I have a question too. And also, first of all, thank you so much for sharing with us. It's really rewarding and fun to see, the Make Water kit in action and all the wonderful other amazing things that you're doing with your students too. It's really cool to see a teacher doing so much hands-on work. But my question is, as part of the Make Water team, we're trying to make this better and better. Do you have any thoughts or feedback for us of like how we could improve what we're doing to make it easier for a teacher like yourself to implement this? Or do you have any thoughts? And any educator in the room, I'd love to hear from you all on that.
So my only struggle is like trying to squeeze it all in 45 minutes. And that's kind of tough. And I know that you've already cut so much. So for my fifth grade, I did a lot of like the prep work and I tried to just have it laid out. And I didn't do a lot of explanation because I didn't really have time. And I just let them take off and try to experiment and explore, and they figured it out. They kind of followed the steps, and I walked around and monitored and kind of made sure that we got to the end result. But it felt a little rushed because 45 minutes just flies by, and sometimes they show up 5 minutes late, and so it kind of eats at our time sometimes.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really good feedback. We've tried different time frames for this setup, and yeah, for a first time doing it with the class, like 45 minutes is super speedy. And I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate what you said. Like that you hit the nail on the head. We're also trying to figure out ways of how to accommodate shorter times. Yeah,
Right.
because you
And
can do
it's
the
hard.
experiment, but you might miss some of the education side of it, you know? So it's like, yeah.
Right. It's hard to decide like I probably could have split up, but I only see these kids every other week because I go through all the sections. So it's a little tricky to be like, well, are they going to remember next week? And like, do I carry that on? So that's something I'm also trying to figure out myself.
Well, thanks for that feedback. I think, let's see, if there are no more questions, we might be able to move on to some, to the actual, to the next phase of this. Ume had another, what is it called? The Mentimeter. So I want to say, Alma, thank you so much for that presentation. It was great. And that's it. This video, once it's up, we're going to share it with you also. Alma, if you want to share that so other people can also see what you have shared today. Yeah, you should be able to do that through this video once it's uploaded.
Okay, thank you.
So what is next? Let's see. Oh, well, actually, the next thing I'm going to do is I will do the recap video. That should be next, right? Ume?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Sorry, I think I jumped the gun on that one.
Okay.
So yeah, we had a video just to kind of share what we've done over the past couple months. It was something that we posted. Ume helped make it. So I'm going to share that right now. Let's see. And let me know if you can't hear it or see it. All right. Wow, it seems like time has flown by, and it's wild that we were able to fit all those things that we've done recently. To add to that, like we've been putting a lot of our recent time into developing teacher trainings, because one of the things that we've been learning is we worked with Blooming with Birdie to develop a really cool like curriculum that goes with these kits. But to Alma's point too, that sometimes it's hard to fit like everything, or you have to learn everything ahead of time before the class. And so one of the initial ideas was to work with Blooming on this video like content that kind of walked you through it. And I think we might have to go and make some adjustments, but the idea was like, you can right off the bat take this video and have it be a guide. But I would love to hear feedback on that. If anybody has suggestions or feedback, because that's what we're learning, is that a lot more people are just like taking the kit and the instructions are in the kit. And it's hard to know what the video is going to be. Maybe it's too long. So this is something that maybe only Alma has really maybe seen or not, but even other educators, if y'all have any feedback on that, what like Catherine, what are your thoughts? Because you have actually, and Deborah have worked with us when we had our codable kits, which we want to get back to actually, and then COVID hit and we had to think about students at home, and that's where these envelope kits came about. And we were really excited to do that because then it allowed us to go to a younger age range, like Alma's classroom, and work with Blooming, who is really great at actually an elementary level. But we're trying to figure out that balance of like, we love the competitive aspect of when we worked with Deborah and Catherine in the past. We kind of want to bring that back too. But then we also have like, I'm not an educator, so we brought in educators like Deborah's helping with these, and Ashley has helped us with the actual new curriculum. So we're in that place of like getting feedback from these kids in the curriculum. So Catherine, what are your thoughts on, like, I don't know how much you haven't really messed with the envelope kits, but like just your thoughts on sort of like if you had curriculum, having to learn it, or like, yeah, what are just some of your feedback with working with us in the past, I guess?
Well, I think since I use it at a higher level, so I teach AP Environmental Science. And
Yeah.
so I'm teaching juniors and seniors with this. And so I truly leave it up to them. So any kind of curriculum that we put it in, it usually is based off of, well, the whole introduction about the water is that we have a water unit. So that ties in nicely with my curriculum already. But as far as what to do with it, as at that level, I'm really leave it open-ended for them. Like, what do you think? I mean, like with Joseph's group that you know, in the whole water wheel kind of thing, it was just like, wow, that was an insightful thing about how you could, you know, turn it with a crank and, you know, if you know, in order to get the battery operated. And that was just like, you know, that kind of a moment for them that really sealed the deal for some of those kids. But all of the kids that I worked with you have been really, they loved it and they learned so much from it, but it was because I was hands-off. So at least I can speak for the upper grades. It would be like an introductory curricula in a sense, like the way it would be adapted for real world application. And then just let their minds go, because they're ready to start tackling problems at that age, especially because they're about to choose majors in college and, you know, career paths and things like that.
I like that, and that's kind of where I wanted to be, and I think we got a pretty good mix of that with the codable kit of just like trying to not overstep my bounds, especially not as an educator, but just like spur their interest. If they have questions, I turn it back around on them and say, well, this is like something that you can follow your curiosity. And we're trying to do that with the envelope kits and find that balance. So yeah, that's some really, really solid feedback. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions about our program or the kits or updates?
Ryan, I know we also talked about like you said you were going to do something like a Google Slides or something. Maybe doing something like that with the lesson.
That's true. Thank you for reminding me. So one of the sort of fixes we had thought about, because I also am applying this video guide through Blooming with Birdie with Ashley Bird, and I'm applying it to workshops of different varying sizes or timeframes. And we have found, like I've learned that way too, that the slides that maybe we put together with clips might also be of service or help, or just be another avenue of being able to apply those lessons to the program as well, or make it another way to make it easier for the educators. So I'm glad you actually brought that up, because we are working on that. But we're also, like right now, we're actually, some other updates is like we're going to revamp our website again. So that's another thing that we're trying to have finished by the summer. I feel like our website, we went really design heavy, but it didn't have as much utility or like resources. So we're going to kind of go back to the drawing board and just try to simplify it. and have it just be as easy to go through and learn it or get to what you need to on our site, and have resources. And the Google Slides will be something like that, or lesson plans that we'd like to have. Like if educators make lesson plans, that we make it open. We suggest, hey, if you do it, please share it so that other people can build off of it, tinker with it, or use it as well. So thank you, Alma, for bringing that up.
Yeah, I also, to add to that, I added the link for sort of the first iteration of the slides that we have right now. We've sort of started them. I worked on these just to give, people a brief overview. Obviously, different educators at different levels will adapt this, in a way that works best for them. But I think this is a good kind of starting point. And one of the things it does is just break up the instructions that are on the pamphlet into smaller bits. So if you wanted to go through it as an educator with the slides, that sort of helps. I know Ryan's used that model in a couple workshops, and it tends to help. But yeah, if you all have any feedback on those slides, we would love it. No pressure. You definitely don't have to take more time to do that, but that's sort of where we're at with the slideshow right now.
Thank you for sharing that. It's funny, it says your Michael counts at least in my chat. So there's some glitchiness happening with the names and the Zoom. Cool.
Okay, yeah, that was not Michael. That was me. I sent that.
Okay, so any other questions before we move on to the next Mentimeter question or
Ryan, this is Adam. I just one comment. Catherine's idea about using real world examples kind of sparked an idea in my head that there are real world situations in which your water quality is affected. You have to have a boil water notice, or the Flint, Michigan situation people at least are aware of. And here in Austin, our main surface water treatment plant the source water had so much sediment in it that we had to also do some extreme measures. And so that, at least on the high school level, that could be, I'm not a teacher, but I don't know what you call those things, a case study or an exercise that you can use your kit to kind of at least show these ways in which water treatment is very impactful to people's lives.
Well, I think that's a great idea, because you're an expert in that field or work with a lot of experts, and just this is I love that this is happening here and you're sharing that, because we have the educators here as well and that crossover. So that would be a good idea. Long ago, like again, when COVID hit, pre-COVID, as we were developing the codable kits, I still have this list that we might bring back. I would have a list of challenges, and like there are a lot of suggestions that have come up, and I would make them on this list to then bring back eventually for students or educators who were looking for a way to apply our kit to something. And these challenges would be things like that, like how you just recommended that would be like a challenge that somebody could go and maybe fill in or make a lesson plan around that. And that actually leads me to this citizen science portal that we've been like tinkering with. It's like in alpha mode right now. It's still very early. It kind of takes inklings or little bits and pieces of things like that, these challenges. But we're developing this sort of portal where students can take their kit, and when they submit their data, it goes to this portal for everybody to sort of see and aggregate all the data turned in, but also different lesson plans or challenges that students are tackling, so that one, they can kind of show off something they've done, and two, other students maybe who are looking for something to tinker with can go and take somebody else's and build upon it. That's also been one of my like sort of long-term visions that I've had, and I think we're making steps to get towards that. So that would also be another place that could live. Yeah. Thank you, Adam. So I will give it to Ume for the Mentimeter, the next one.
Yes, share my screen there. Claudia will, yes, just share the link in the chat, but you can also use this QR code or use the code on the screen as well. So we just want to get your insights while you're logging in about STEM education and water innovation. We have educators here with us, people who are related to water innovation. And our first question is that what is the biggest challenge in STEM education currently? So this will be a word cloud exercise, and our answers will just meet in the middle.
Oh, okay. So one word at a time. Okay.
So yeah, as everyone puts it, we'll see. Yeah. I think we're having similar
Anybody have
answers.
any questions of access to this link? Let's see. Oh, this is cool. Time, resources, access, equity. Oh, here it goes. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, this is super cool.
Yeah, I guess we have some common points about resources, funding, supplies. It takes a lot of different materials, hands-on to do hands-on work in classrooms. So yes, I think to reach those materials, I think it's a bit harder when you compare to other subjects in schools.
Yeah. So when it's bigger, does that mean more than one person has said that
Yes.
word? Yeah, okay.
I think funding is our
It seems like everything is kind of
Yeah.
going around that. Yeah, I think I got caught for a second because I was like, oh, I don't want to say the same word, but actually it makes it better. It's supposed to be that way that you if you thought of the same words, that actually is better to have more people adding to that. Yeah, I think this is what are some of y'all's thoughts? Like Deborah, what are you thinking on this question and some of the answers that people have put up?
I think those are good. I was gonna piggyback on Catherine. I think those are really good when she talked about having the real world scenarios. I think the global aspect was really big for my students, but time I think was really the important thing. And we had the time, so we did a lot. But yeah, I can't imagine doing everything in 45 minutes. So, so my hat's off to Alma because wow, that's yeah. But yeah. So and we didn't have any problems again with the private school with the funding, but and the older students. But I think the awareness is really important because to begin with, like Flint, things that are important for them right now, the application, immediate application. But then my students took it. I mean, I had some students that went to Africa, so they took it even further there. And I think that global aspect is important as well.
Yeah, I agree. And actually going back to the first part of what you were talking about is the time. That's one of the things that, again, like being able to split something up, or the way we implemented it early on was connecting y'all with a challenge. And we've kind of don't do that as much with these envelope kits, and we're probably going to try to get back to that. because there are a lot of ways that you could like right now it's set up to kind of show you how the kit works and learn a little bit about chemistry and engineering and STEM. But we want to add more of the like, okay, like what if you had these components and you can tinker with that, but then that time element is kind of challenging. And I like when we connect with a program, or we connect with educators who are able to implement this in a way that maybe is drawn out over a long period of time, like with you, Deborah, and you, Catherine. That actually was where we thrived. And we're learning this other side of working with educators now, where these are, you know, need to fit in like 45-minute segments. And even one educator, I would love to have her maybe even be a guest speaker out in Atlanta, is trying to, and this goes back to the time word, is like she's there's all these great after school activities, and she's rounding up all these nonprofits and groups doing after school activities, and she's trying to carve out time during the school day to do it, because after school students work, or they have to be home, or there's not enough resources or ability for them to stay after school. And that's really interesting to see her doing that at her school.
They do rise to the challenge. So, you know, even I had students come in during lunch. They brought their lunch, they did whatever they did. So yeah, I'm glad we would get back to that. I like it.
Yeah. So the codable kits will be coming back hopefully sooner than later. Is there another Mentimeter after this?
Yes, we have only one left. We're asking, why do you think it's important to include water innovation in STEM education? So this is an open-ended exercise. You can just type in your answers, or if you want to just say them, you feel free to do so.
Okay, so from the same link, we see that we can go to the next slide. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went ahead and put for the real world application of it. As I've kind of, as somebody who's like a filmmaker, like, and not even in the water industry or not even in the education industry, I've always felt like a little like on the outside looking in, but I, you know, was first interested in this hands-on like experiment just because it was fun to do, and the long-term potential for real world application, not just with the purification process itself, but saws helped me learn that like what I was doing was really great for education. Like you could get other people to self-teach, or with the help of educators, learn that they could follow a passion, or if they're really curious, like do something hands-on because they're curious or really interested in it. And a lot of it kind of ties into the ability of this being potentially something that has real world application, and even just career paths beyond just water purification, but learning about tech, engineering. I try to, whenever I'm passionate about something, see how it can also apply to this, hence filmmaking, storytelling, doing a lot of videos.
I can say a little about my answer as well. Mine is the bit of a run-on sentence that starts with, "It helps spark." But I think one of the things that our program and water innovation in general and in education, the thing that inspires me the most is just getting to students at a young age and helping them build confidence and find that interest so that they can then pursue those things and develop a career and become, you know, like it says down here, water practitioners, engineers, policymakers, like really inspire that generation of, you know, young STEM students so that they can help us out, because our planet needs it. It needs everyone to work together. And that's kind of the chain effect that I see with our program and with all STEM education.
Thank you, Claudia.
So I can speak to it, and I love hearing all the people from San Antonio because I grew up south of San Antonio in LaSalle County in Cotulla, and watched my family go from being farmers to having to go to hunting as a way to support the family because we were no longer getting the rain that we could have the crops. The river was dry and we didn't have anything to irrigate from. So while not as critical as when you're talking about Africa and having drinkable water, I've seen that change in my lifetime and affect my life. And I think that when it comes to water, some people take it for granted. They go and turn the faucet on and it's going to be there, and they really don't realize how important it is to keep our water not have it polluted. That it is critical in everywhere, not just the places that get the most advertisement. And so the sooner that we can start having kids be aware of it in a way that's hands-on and not just, oh, let's turn off the faucet when we brush our teeth and the usual things that are covered for in classrooms oftentimes, then I think it will be more impactful to help with a resource that is very important to us, because you can go longer without food than you can go without water. So, that's the more we keep that in the forefront, I think that would help it grow.
Laura, thank you for sharing that. That's thank you for sharing that story. Just the real world aspect and how it really affected you. And I know it's easy to always compare, like, well, in other parts of the world, they really have it bad. But, everybody has their story too. And it's great to hear and tell your story. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll add on to that a little bit, because I'm coming from it from more of a not an education perspective, but more from just what I see on a day-to-day basis in my job. Water is important, not just because it's a resource that we depend on to live or to be healthy or to have healthy communities. It's also a resource that needs to be managed. In Texas, especially in central Texas, we're in a flash flood zone. And so from the flooding perspective and from the water resource perspective, we either have too much water or we don't have enough. And so that the only way to address that particular problem is through engineered solutions, and community policies that help us. When I was at the San Antonio River Authority, you'd use the term hard infrastructure, which would be your tunnels and your systems, the way that you're filtering water, or the way that you're designing landscapes to control runoff, and to maintain a healthy river. And soft infrastructure, which we would refer to as the people network, the people, awareness systems and flood systems, and that kind of community outreach stuff. So I think as far as STEMs related, the reason that, and I don't think this probably reaches out into the community enough. The reasons for why we need water isn't simply to have. I mean, obviously we want to have clean water coming out of our tap. I think one of the challenges is that those systems are oftentimes coming through pipes that are underground, and so it's out of sight, out of mind, and we don't know about it until there's a problem. But it's also the basis for a robust economy. It supports sustainable growth throughout a region. One of the stories that I like to kind of talk about with folks is years ago there was an effort to protect the Edwards Aquifer, which is, as you know, from San Antonio, the primary source of water, drinking water. And the reason was driven by multiple factors. One was environmental, which was upstream ecosystems that were being depleted because of dried up springs. But the other factor, and probably the factor that ultimately pushed the policymakers to kind of push them into action was the fact that San Antonio is home of multiple military bases, and that's at the time was one of the primary sources for jobs and economic sustainability in the city. And so we needed water for those bases to stay in San Antonio. And so that's just one example. There's so many more. Toyota, for instance, came to San Antonio because of the robust water source, because we have those policies and systems in place that protect the water long term. And so water, I think, is such a thing. It's easy to think about it in a very simple term, right? We need it. We need it for our personal health. Of course we do. But we also need it to be sustainable and conserved so that we can continue to have it for those reasons, and so that we can be protected from it in times of flood. So it's a very comprehensive way to look at it. And STEM is a condition precedent to continue to have to plan for those future needs. And so if there's something that I'm talking to folks like, I do a lot of folks discussions up here in Austin, whether that's at the University of Texas, or sometimes I'll go up to a different law school to give a talk. One of the things that I try to emphasize to people is that these things are important for more reasons than I think we usually are immediately aware of. And if we think more about it, I mean, every industry in the state relies on a reliable source of water. So anyway, that's STEM is crucial too, or including water innovation in STEM is crucial.
Cool, thank you for that. It gets me thinking that one of the questions that I always get asked with these kits when we're doing it or when it's done, they're like, "Can I drink this water?" And I say, "No, like it's not. This water is not tested. We use just like non-toxic tempera paint and a little bit of salt. So like literally they could if they want to. It's not going to harm them much. But what I try to kind of explain is that what we're doing in this experiment or this process, or think about water on more than just a drinking water level. Like this can be part of a cog of a what is the formula you're trying to make for what's your entry water, what is your output water, like what are you trying to get it from A to B. And it isn't always just drinking water. Like maybe you're trying to reuse water in a factory or something like that so that you can prolong the use of it or reduce the amount of pollutants that you're sending down the drain. So I like that you say that, because it is such a simple thing, but also such a in-depth, crucial, so many ways to look at it thing when it comes to water. And I think you really made a good point with that. I will say with that, we are past our time, and I appreciate y'all all sticking around for, I think this is our first one. We are excited to do this every month, and I don't want to keep y'all's time. I mean, maybe in the future we'll just like, hey, if anybody wants to stay and we keep chatting, we do. But with that, if anybody has any questions, if not, just reach out, and yeah, maybe we'll ask for feedback in the future how we could do this better, or like if this time works right. But either way, I'll respect y'all's time, and thank y'all all for coming to our first Make Water meetup. Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.